What if everything you believed about the royal family was a lie? What if a secret so explosive had been buried for decades, hidden in letters, whispers, and behind closed palace doors, that it could shatter reputations, rewrite history, and leave even the most loyal subjects questioning their own eyes? Imagine Kate Middleton, the poised, composed Duchess of Cambridge, breaking down in tears in a private room of Kensington Palace. Not because of gossip, not because of public opinion, but because she had just uncovered the most shocking truth about the family she married into, a truth that had haunted Princess Diana to her final days. But before we continue, please subscribe and turn on the notification bell for updates. You see, for decades, Diana, Princess of Wales, carried secrets she feared could destroy her children and the monarchy. She was trapped in a life where love, duty, and appearances often collided violently. Her journals, her letters, and even casual confidences hinted at truths that no one dared speak aloud. And now, decades later, one of those truths has come to light in a way no one could have imagined, through the cold, unyielding lens of science, through a DNA test that confirmed what Diana had feared most. Prince Harry, the beloved son of Diana, is not the biological child of Prince Charles. And buried within Diana's last letter, her final confession, lies the confirmation that the royal family, the world, and Harry himself had never been fully prepared to face. It all began quietly. A letter discovered in a private archive, tucked away among Diana's personal effects, was opened by a historian who understood immediately that its contents were explosive. The letter spoke of betrayal, of secrets held too long, and of a child's paternity. A truth that had been whispered in palace corridors for years, but never confirmed. Imagine holding a piece of history that could turn a family upside down. That historian knew, as soon as the words met their eyes, that the implications would ripple across the monarchy, the media, and the world. But he wasn't prepared for the personal ramifications. Because once this letter was shared with those closest to the royal family, the first reaction came not as anger, not as disbelief, but as a tidal wave of emotion. Kate Middleton, the public face of royal stability, broke down. She wept in a way that no cameras captured, in a way that no one outside that room will ever fully understand. And what she learned in that moment wasn't just about Harry. It was about the entire fabric of the family. Fragile, flawed, and built on secrets that could no longer stay hidden. Think about the weight of that moment. Kate, a woman trained for public appearances, for composure in the face of scrutiny, confronted with the realization that her family, the one she chose, the one she vowed to support, was built on a lie. It's the kind of revelation most people would encounter only once in a lifetime. And for her, it was instantaneous, overwhelming, and devastating. And yet, she wasn't alone. Prince William, Harry's elder brother, had already known whispers of this truth, yet nothing could have prepared him for the confirmation that would ignite one of the most dramatic chapters in royal history. But how did we get here? How could a family so public, so scrutinized, have harbored a secret so intimate, so explosive, for so long? The answer lies in Diana herself. Princess Diana understood the dangers of truth. She knew that the monarchy, a centuries-old institution built on tradition and appearances, would crumble under the weight of scandal. She also knew that her children, especially Harry, would carry the consequences of secrets not of their making. That's why she left behind letters, carefully coded and emotionally charged, intended to guide, warn, and protect. And that's why, decades later, those letters have resurfaced, igniting a firestorm that no one could have predicted. The DNA test that confirmed Diana's secret was no casual experiment. It was conducted with meticulous precision by experts who understood the stakes. The results were undeniable. Harry is not the biological son of Prince Charles. The revelation is monumental. It challenges everything we thought we knew about succession, loyalty, and familial bonds. And it poses a question that no one has a ready answer for. What does this mean for Harry, for William, for Kate, and for the monarchy itself? But the story doesn't end there. Diana's letter adds a layer of complexity that science alone cannot explain. In her words, she speaks of love, betrayal, fear, and the sacrifices she made to protect her children. The letter confirms the paternity, yes, but it also reveals motivations, intentions, and secrets that the royal family may have thought were safely buried forever. Imagine the scene in the palace when the letter was first read. Advisors and aides, trained to handle crises of public relations, found themselves unable to contain the emotional weight of Diana's final confession. Staff whispered in hallways, wondering if history itself was being rewritten. Kate, already facing the immense pressures of public life, felt the weight most acutely. Her tears were not merely for Harry, but for the unraveling of the narrative she had believed in, for the fragility of the institution she had married into, and for the young princes whose lives would now be forever altered by truths long hidden. This is not just a story about a DNA test. It is a story about power, secrecy, love, and betrayal. It is a story about a woman who loved fiercely, a son who must now redefine himself, and a family whose foundation is suddenly, violently shaken. And the public? The world is watching. Headlines are exploding. Social media is ablaze. Historians, royal experts, and even politicians are weighing in. But no one can fully grasp the emotional intensity of what happened behind closed doors, the private moments of grief, confusion, and the difficult choices that now must be made. And yet, in the midst of this revelation, there is a thread of hope. Because Diana, in her wisdom and foresight, left more than just a secret. She left guidance, intention, and the possibility of understanding. Her letter, combined with the DNA results, may feel like a bombshell, but it also offers clarity, a roadmap through the chaos, if one is willing to read it carefully, if one is willing to confront the truth honestly. So what happens next? How will Kate navigate this emotional minefield? How will Harry reconcile the man he believed his father to be with the truths now laid bare? And what will the royal family do when the world realizes that the most beloved institutions of England have been quietly shaped by secrets and lies? The answers are not simple, and they are not comforting. But one thing is certain, nothing will ever be the same again. And in the next hour, we will take you deep inside the story. The private rooms of the palace, the letters of Diana, the DNA tests, and the emotional fallout that has left Kate Middleton in tears, Harry in shock, and the royal family facing questions it may never have been prepared to answer. But what came next would change everything, and no one saw it coming. Imagine waking up one morning to discover that everything you believed about your family, your history, and your identity is suddenly in question. That's exactly the kind of shock that reverberated through the royal family when the results of a confidential DNA test were quietly confirmed. This wasn't some tabloid rumor or unverified gossip. This was hard, scientific fact, verified by multiple experts in forensic genetics. The test confirmed what Princess Diana had long feared. Prince Harry was not, biologically, the son of Prince Charles. The implications of this revelation were monumental. Not just for Harry himself, but for Kate Middleton, Prince William, and the entire monarchy. The test itself was conducted under strict confidentiality. Experts were aware of the unprecedented nature of the situation. They knew that the information could shatter decades of carefully maintained appearances and ignite a media frenzy the likes of which the royal family had never seen. Every precaution was taken to ensure accuracy. The results were analyzed repeatedly, cross-checked, and verified by independent laboratories. And when the final report came back, the truth was undeniable. Harry's genetic profile did not match Charles's. The confirmation left no room for doubt. But let's step back for a moment. How did this DNA test even happen? It wasn't something the public was ever meant to know about. The process was initiated quietly by historians and biographers researching Diana's personal archives. Among her letters and personal effects, they found indications that she had long suspected Harry's paternity might not be as straightforward as the world had been told. These suspicions weren't casual. They were written in her own words, expressed with the clarity and foresight of a mother who understood the stakes. The discovery of these letters prompted historians to collaborate with scientific experts. The aim wasn't to create a scandal, but to finally uncover the truth that had eluded the public and the family alike for decades. Once permission was quietly granted, DNA samples were obtained in the most discreet way possible, handled with the utmost care to protect the dignity of everyone involved. The results were then delivered to only a few select people, those who could handle the information responsibly. The moment the test was confirmed, the reactions inside the palace were immediate and intense. Kate Middleton, for instance, reportedly broke down in private. The emotional toll on her cannot be overstated. Here was a woman who had entered the royal family with grace, poise, and a sense of duty, now facing a revelation that undermined the very narrative she had come to believe in. Her tears were not just about Harry. They were about the fragility of the family she married into, about the unraveling of history, and about the pressures of navigating a truth that the world would inevitably want to know. Prince William's response was also complex. As the elder sibling, he had long suspected that some secrets existed, but seeing the scientific confirmation forced him to confront the reality of what Diana had known and feared. There is no official record of William's private thoughts, but insiders describe him as stunned, conflicted, and deeply protective of both his younger brother and the family's public image. And Harry? The impact on him was profound. Imagine growing up believing one thing about your father, only to discover decades later that biology tells a different story. The psychological and emotional weight of such a revelation is immense. Harry, who has spent much of his life in the public eye, suddenly had to reconcile the man he thought was his father with the truth revealed by science. And all of this was happening under the relentless gaze of media speculation, historical scrutiny, and public fascination. What makes this situation even more dramatic is the undeniable clarity of the evidence. DNA does not lie. It is a scientific language that transcends rumors, gossip, and personal beliefs. When the results confirmed what Diana's letters had implied, it became impossible to dismiss. For decades, speculation had circulated quietly, whispers in palace corridors, conjecture in tabloids, but now there was proof. The confirmation forced the royal family to face a reality that had been carefully hidden, managed, and in many ways, ignored. The timing of the revelation also adds another layer of intrigue. In an era when public trust in institutions is fragile, a secret of this magnitude threatens not only the monarchy's image, but also its internal dynamics. How will the line of succession be perceived? How will the public respond to the knowledge that one of the royal family's most beloved figures carries a truth that challenges centuries of lineage? And how will Harry navigate the sudden shift from being a son in the public eye to someone grappling with an identity that has just been scientifically questioned? Even beyond the palace walls, the implications are staggering. Historians are already re-examining Diana's life, searching her letters for clues, analyzing interviews, and piecing together what she knew and when she knew it. The DNA results validate her suspicions, but they also open a Pandora's box of questions. What motivated her to leave this secret for the world only after her death? Did she intend for Harry to know the truth in private, or was this a warning meant for the public to understand years later? And then there's the emotional ripple effect. For Kate, the knowledge that her husband's brother's very existence has been viewed through a lens of secrecy is heartbreaking. For William, the confirmation forces him to navigate loyalty to both the monarchy and his family. For Harry, it's a collision of identity, history, and personal understanding. And for the world, it's a shocking revelation that challenges every narrative we thought we knew about the royal family. The story of this DNA bombshell is not just about science or paternity. It is about the emotional truth that accompanies it. Imagine the conversations behind closed doors, the whispered discussions among advisors, the strategy meetings to determine how to respond publicly. Imagine the internal conflict as family members weigh loyalty against truth, discretion against transparency, love against duty. Every interaction, every glance, every decision is now colored by a revelation that cannot be ignored. And yet, this is only the beginning. While the DNA results confirm a biological truth, they do not capture the full emotional, historical, and relational complexity that surrounds it. That is where Diana's letters come into play, offering insight, context, and a personal perspective that transforms a scientific fact into a deeply human story. Her words illuminate motivations, fears, and protections, revealing why she carried this secret and how she hoped it might one day be understood. But what came next would change everything, and no one saw it coming.